The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you for attending the webinar today. We are going to talk about how to order and fabricate for motorization. This is the second webinar in the Mastering Motorization series. I am Donna Cash, and I own Designs by Donna Atlanta, a soft furnishings and design studio in Flowery Branch, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta. I started my business about 30 years ago, and I say that I get to come to work and design and fabricate beautiful things with fabric. I also teach how to make and design beautiful things with fabric. I am very happy to be here with you today and presenting for Rowley Company. And I help you build your confidence so that you can build your business. Last week, we went over motorization basics and selling the right solution to your customers. This webinar was recorded. It is up on the website now for you to watch. And here is a link on this slide if you would like to do a print screen. You can simply click on the link and watch the video. In 2 weeks, we'll be going over installation and programming for motorization. That will be on Tuesday, May 19th at 2, and followed up again on Thursday, May 21st at 11. In today's webinar, you're going to learn factors to consider before fabricating shades and draperies for motorization. You'll learn how to select the right motor and components for your motorized products. And you'll get helpful tools and assistance for ordering motorized systems. What do you need to consider before fabricating wire-free and DC tubular shades? One of the first things you're going to consider is the weight and size of your product. Motors are not one-size-fits-all shades. Wire-free, tubular, and DC tubular motors come in 3 sizes: 25 millimeter, 28, and 35 millimeter. The larger the millimeter number, the larger the motor in inches, the larger the tube size, the larger the shade width and length can be, and the heavier weight the motor will carry. DC motors will require a battery tube, a battery pack, or a battery supply, but allow the shades to be made in tubes as narrow as 14.5 inches. The reason for that is that DC tubular motors do not have the batteries within the motor itself, and that's why you need the battery tube, battery pack, or a power supply to plug into the wall. You can use wire-free tubular motors in an existing home or small commercial projects. They have Li-ion powered motors, that is lithium ion powered motors, and they don't require any electrical wiring. The wire-free tubular motors do not need an external battery pack, and the installation is simple. They have many features: two-way RF communication. You can adjust the speed. You can set your upper and lower limits. They have leveling control, so if you have multiple shades in one room, you can control the level between each of the shades. You can set a favorite position. So if you don't want your shades to always be all the way up or always be all the way down, you simply program the favorite position. The motors are quiet, and you can use these for your roller shades and your Roman shades. This is a spec sheet for your wire-free tubular motors. Over on the right-hand side of your screen, on the upper right, that is what I call an exploded view. And what this shows you is all of the parts and pieces that you'll need in order to build that system. There's a motor, there's a tube, there's clips, there's end caps. Everything you need is right there in this exploded view. There are different types of remotes and switches. You will need a battery charger. Additional options, you can order motor end cover kits. You can order cassettes. And you can use these with your R-TEC smart controls. Now, as I mentioned, not all motors are the same size. Describing motors with the millimeter diameter sizes is helpful, but it does not tell the whole story. If you look in the center of your screen, you'll see the motor specs. The torque, which is also the power, of an electric motor is measured in Newton meters, Nm. And you'll see that in this chart. So the 25 millimeter motor is 1.1 Newton meter. The 28 millimeter motor is 2.0 Newton meters. And the 35 millimeter motor is 3.0 Newton meters. The millimeter designation helps you to know what tube size and drive kit to select, and the Newton meter measurement helps you understand how powerful the motor is. So if you go down to the system specs on the lower side of your screen, you'll see the different size motors, the part number, the motor size, the type of motor, and you'll also see the different tube diameters for each of the motors. You'll see the maximum size of the shade that you can make for any given motor. And you can see the minimum shade width and the minimum roller tube length for those motors, as well as the maximum load. So when you are working with motors, you want to make sure that your shade is going to fit within the specs shown here on the spec sheets. A cassette is an option that you can order for your wire-free tubular motors when you're going to be making roller shades. And the cassette will be the head cover, the head rail of the shade itself. DC tubular motors are also great when you're designing a new home, motorizing an existing home, or you're planning for a commercial project. The DC wired shades are maintenance-free, and the AC power adapter allows you to have a very easy installation, and the costs are minimum. The features, again, you've got your two-way RF communication, so you can work these with your automated home automation. Again, you can adjust the speeds. You've got the same leveling control. You can set your preferred upper and lower limits in your favorite position. They're very quiet to operate. The feature of the DC tubular motor is you can go down to a 14.5-inch narrow shade or shade tube for your roller and Roman shades. And as I mentioned, you will need a battery pack or a power supply or a battery tube because the batteries are not within the tubular motors. And here again, here is a spec sheet just showing all of the specs that you'll need to understand about the DC tubular motor. Again, you've got your exploded view showing all the parts and pieces. Your additional options, you can have your motor end cover kits. You can have a cassette to cover that head rail of your roller shades. And you can use this with the R-TEC smart controls. Again, you've got your motor specs that we've already talked about and your system specs. You have 3 different motor sizes for this as well. And you've got, again, the minimum shade width or roller tube width as low as 14.5 inches. You just need to make sure that you're cross-referencing everything. Now, quite often people come to me and ask, how do I know how much my shade is going to weigh? Or how do I know how much my draperies are going to weigh? Well, the easy way is going to be weigh yourself on a scale, write that number down, hold the drapery or the shade and step on a scale, weigh that. Write that down, subtract the 2, and then you've got the weight of your shade or your drapery. But what if you haven't already made your product that you're going to motorize? Then you need to understand and you need to find out what is the weight per yard of your fabric. You multiply that by the number of yards that you're putting into your shade or your drapery, and you write that number down. You need to do the same for your lining and or inner lining if you're inner lining. You need to consider the weight bar that you're using in your shade or any weights that you're using in a drapery and any product that you're putting on the back of the shade. Everything that you are using when then that shade or drapery needs to be weighed and written down, and then you add all of that up and you're going to come up with a very close estimate for what that is going to weigh. Factors to consider before fabricating wire-free tubular motors with attached wand controls. The weight and the size of the product is always going to come into play. Wire-free tubular motors with attached wand controls comes in 1 motor size. It's a 25 millimeter. The wands are white. The wands come in 24, 36, and 48 inches. So you need to understand that with a 48-inch maximum wand length, you're not going to be using these in 2-story windows because you won't be able to reach the controller. The minimum shade tube width for this type of motor is 21.5 inches. The shade maximum load is either 13 pounds up to 15.5 pounds, depending upon your tube size, which comes in 1 1/4 and 1.5 inch tube sizes. The motor for the wire-free tubular motor with attached wand control is, again, it's a lithium-ion, a Li-ion battery. And this is perfect for retrofitting into existing homes or for introducing automated shades at a value. This is going to be your entry-level price point. These are great if you're using them in a child's room and you don't want any cords or you don't want a remote control that can be misplaced. These are great for the safety using in a home that has children. You can easily adjust your shade with the controls located on the wand. You will not be able to integrate this with your home automation. You do not have remote controls for this type of a motor. The controls are on the wand itself, so it's very easy. You can set your preferred upper and lower limits on this type of a motor, and you can program a favorite position. Use these for your roller shades and your Roman shades. Here's your spec sheet for the wire-free tubular motor with attached wand control. Again, we've got the exploded view so that you can understand the parts and pieces if you want to put these together for you. Don't worry if this is not something you want to put together. You can have Custom Solutions build these for you. We'll show that later on in the webinar. Now, if you take a look at the motor in the exploded view, you can see that there is a wand adapter on this type of a motor, and that is going to allow you to clip the wand into the wand adapter on the motor. And then there is a wire on the wand that you simply plug into the receptacle on the motor. You will need a wall charger for this to charge the wand. And for this, you can also order the additional option as a cassette for your roller shades. So you've got your motor specs here. There's just the one motor size. It's the 25 millimeter. You've got your system specs. Remember, you can use a 1 1/4 and a 1 1/2 inch tube, and your maximum load is going to be 15.5 or 13 pounds. Now, you may notice that the maximum load of 15.5 pounds goes to the 1 1/4 inch tube, but the 1.5 inch tube only has a 13-pound maximum load. So why is that? That is because the larger weight capabilities for the smaller diameter, the 1 1/4 inch tube, is due to the fact that it requires less torque. Remember, we talked about torque. To lift the smaller diameter. The larger the diameter, the more torque is required. So the 1 1/2 inch tube can handle more weight, but it also requires more torque to lift it. The wand is going to stay charged for approximately 500 up and down cycles. Now, when I say approximately, that is because it's going to be determined by how wide and how long the shade is. The longer the shade is, the longer the motor will have to work in order to raise the shade. The wider and the heavier the shade is, the harder the motor will have to work in order to raise the shade. So that's going to be pretty much the same for any type of motor that you're using. If you find that you are making a shade and it is going to be within the getting close to the maximum load for that motor, and there is another motor that you can use that is a heavier duty motor, you may want to just go ahead and bump it up to the next motor size. Now, you're not going to have that option with the wire-free tubular motor with attached wand control because there's just one motor size. Factors to consider before fabricating motorized shades. So are there differences when you're making fabric shades for motorization as opposed to non-motorized? Something that you're going to want to consider when you're fabricating roller shades, and this is a type of roller shade where you're actually using the fabric laminated cloth that you are applying your fabric to, you are going to be limited by the size of the shade cloth, the width of the shade cloth, and you also may be limited by the width of your fabric, because you cannot seam fabric when you're making a roller shade. It will not roll up on the tube correctly. When you're making Roman shades for motorization, everything is pretty much the same, except that you need to consider where you're going to be placing your edge rings, your edge shroud tube or shroud tape. That may need to be adjusted. And you want to remember that when you're making a Roman shade with a tubular motor, the clips need to be moved over about 3 inches from where the cord is placed on the back of the shade. And that is so that the cord will not wrap over itself as the shade is raising. So are there any factors that you need to consider before making your cord lift shades? So a cord lift shade headrail system, if you are familiar with an easy rig system for a non-motorized shade, the cord lift system is going to look and be made similar to the easy rig. However, it's not exactly the same. There's a motor that's going to be within the headrail. The edge rings, the shroud tube or the shroud tape, again, the placement on the edge may need to be slightly adjusted. Shades with an even number of cords will have the motor in the center of the track system itself. However, shades with an odd number of cords, the motor will not be in the center. If you're making a room darkening shade and there's no light coming in through that's not going to be an issue. However, if you're making a shade that is not room darkening and there could be a shadow of the shroud tube or tape or cord up the back of the shade, and you have an odd number of cords, and the motor is not in the center, that could be an issue if your client is not made aware of this prior to you installing the shade. The adjustment of the rings, the edge rings, just the edge rings, before I started using headrail systems, my edge rings I would always put on usually where my side hems are, so that the rings are coinciding with the side hems. I find that when I'm doing motorization, I usually am the most narrow side hem that I am using now is a 2-inch side hem. And that allows me to have a 2-inch side hem, and then my edge rings or shroud tube can be placed along that 2-inch marking. And then when I move the cord over to coincide with the clips that have been put on, then I don't have an extra amount of tubes and cords up the back of the shade. The cord lift motor system is not in a tube. The cord lift system is in a track. And I'll show you the exploded view in just a moment. So the things that you're going to consider again when you're making a motorized cord lift shade is the weight and the size of the shade. Cord lift motors are for Roman shades, just Roman shades. They do require a battery tube, a battery pack, or a power supply. So you can plug this type into a wall. The cord lift track is similar, as I mentioned, to the track of an easy rig Roman shade system. The minimum track or shade size is going to be 22 inches, and the maximum load is 11.5 pounds. The cord lift motor you can use in a contemporary setting. You can use these in a home or office setting. And the cord lift motor has the ability to lift shades of various weights and sizes while still ensuing a very smooth operation. You do have your two-way RF communication. You've got your leveling control. You can set your upper and lower limits and your favorite position, and you can use this for Roman shades, or if you are building a cellular shade, you can use that as well. Now, because this is in a track system and you have got cords coming up the back, that is, if you have got cords and you need to have, you got your barrels that are coming into the track and you have your motor in that track as well. So you may not have the motor in the center. I'm going to show the exploded view here and just let's go to the next slide. And you can see that exploded view up on the right-hand side. There's some questions about that. So you have, just as you're building your easy rig system for the non-motorized, and you have your track and you've got your barrels going in. Because of the motor, the motor is going to be in between the barrels, and you are going to have that shaft that is going to plug into either side of the motor, and it's also going to carry the barrels or the spools that have your cord within them. So if you have a shade and you're not using any ribs for this your shade, then it is possible, depending upon the width of this shade, that you may need an uneven number of spools. Now, something to remember for the specs of this is your maximum size for this type of a motor is 120 by 120. That's pretty big. But your maximum load is only 11.5 pounds. So if you have a shade with a heavyweight fabric, you're lining it and you're interlining it, you could easily, if you're going up to that maximum shade size, you could easily go beyond the maximum load in the weight of your shade. So that's why you need to be aware of all of the specs when you are considering the type of motor that you're going to use. Now in this slide, we have a chart showing the motor features, as well as the different types of motors that we've already discussed. All of the motors, except for the wire-free tubular motor with attached wand control, have leveling control. So you can level all the shades within your room. They have all got electronic limit setting and adjustment. They have all got the option to program your favorite position. So if you don't want your shades to always be all the way up or all the way down, you can set the favorite position. Three-way operational speed settings are not available on the wire-free tubular motor with attached wand control. You can have rechargeable batteries for all of these. However, be aware that for the DC tubular motors and the cord lift motor, that is an optional. So that is an option that you have to order separately. Narrow width applications, remember that's going to be your DC tubular motor because the batteries are not within the motor itself. So you can go down to that 14.5-inch wide width with the smallest motor available in the DC tubular motor. All of the motors except the wire-free tubular motor with attached wand control are compatible with the R-TEC smart controls. Now this is just another view for you to help you select the right motor and components for your shades. This is for the wire-free tubular motors. This is showing the 3 different motor sizes, the tube sizes, the maximum weight, the maximum shade size with your weight. And this again is for the wire-free tubular motor. We kind of went over this already on the spec sheet, but this is just a larger diagram of the motor specs and the shade specs. Again, this is more information for you, which we've really already covered for the wire-free tubular motor with the attached wand control. Again, there's only one motor size, 2 tube sizes, and the maximum load for each of those tube sizes. And here for your DC tubular motors. Now, I want to bring one point to you right now. If you are making a Roman shade and you are up in that 120 by 120 size, it's all great that you can make a Roman shade 120 inches wide on your tube. However, have you ever ordered a 10-foot tube and had it shipped to you? It's not going to fit within the normal size that you can have shipped from UPS or FedEx. It's going to have to go on a truck. However, there is something that you can use. It is called the Easy Link system. I don't have a picture of it here, but what that allows you to do is order smaller tube sizes and using 4 pieces, 4 components that you put in the center of your tubes, allowing you to use 1 motor, but 2 tubes for that Roman shade headrail and operate that shade easily and allows you to order a narrower tube so that you're not having to pay that huge expense to get a 10 or 12-foot tube delivered to you. It's called the Easy Link system. And that handout, I believe, Skyline Easy Link. Yes, the Skyline Easy Link Components PDF is one of the handouts available for you to download on from this website webinar today. Okay, and here's just again on the cord lift motor, your maximum size is 120 by 120. This is allows for a minimum shade width or track length of 22 inches, and your maximum load is going to be at 11.5 pounds. So now let's get into factors to consider before fabricating your draperies for motorization. Now, the motorization for draperies is going to be available soon. Again, it always gets down to the weight and the size of the drapery treatment. We are going to be able to order very soon the 1 3/8" H-rail automated track systems and the R-TEC track automated track system. Now, again, how do you figure your draperies, the weight of your draperies and your shades? We went over that earlier. But again, you've got to understand either what the weight of your drapery is, weigh that, or understand the weight of your drapery fabric and everything going into that drapery in order to make sure that you have got the right motor for you. So are there any fabrication methods that are different when you're making motorized draperies as non-motorized draperies? There's not really a lot that you need to consider, but there are a few things. You're going to notice that for the ripple draperies, you're going to notice that there are some new master carriers. They had to be redesigned to allow for the drive belt to be attached to the carrier itself. So you will see some differences there. Now, if you've made ripple fold draperies in the past, you know that for the master carriers, whether it's a butt master or an overlap master, you have to cut the snap tape apart to adjust for the snaps on the master carriers. It'll be the same thing, but you will notice some differences in the master carriers themselves. When you're making pinch pleat draperies for motorization, it's pretty much exactly the same way that you would make a drapery for non-motorized. The drapery returns are going to have to be wide enough to go around the motor and then back to the wall. Just the same thing. So don't be frightened if you haven't made any draperies for motorization yet. It's very, very similar. Now, how do you select your right motor and components for your drapery? The 1 3/8" Aria H-rail is going to be available in all of the antiquities finishes that we've grown to know and love. You're going to be able to order these for your pinch pleat draperies and your ripple fold draperies. This track is available continuous in 12-foot sections, or you can splice it to reach up to 24 feet. The R-TEC track automated track system is available in white or bronze. This is more of your standard commercial type track. You can use this for pinch pleat or ripple fold. This is available in 20 feet continuous or can be spliced up to 36 feet. Now, this can be easily upgraded using your Finestra fascias and finials. So all the colors that you've grown to know and love, all your favorite finials, you can use with the R-TEC track system. These tracks can be used for your lithium-ion battery pack motor, or you can also get them in the 110-volt AC transformer powered motor. The width of the track and the weight of the drapery is going to determine the type of the motor and the length of time between your battery recharges. As we talked about in your shade, the heavier your product and the wider your drapery, the more your motor is going to work to open and close the drapery. So the heavier, obviously, and the wider, it's going to have to be recharged more times or more times in between your recharges. The ARIA automated H-rail traverse system is, we've grown to know and love these. They're absolutely beautiful. You can use these with your smart home controls. You can use these in both residential and commercial, and they're absolutely beautiful. Some of the features of these is you've got your two-way RF communication, so you can use them with your smart controls. You can adjust the speeds of these motors. You can program your open and your closed and your favorite positions. So if you don't want these to be all the way, always all the way open or all the way closed, you can set a favorite position. If these do happen to run into something, it's got something called obstruction detection and the drapery will stop. Should you lose your power or should you misplace the remote control, then with just a gentle tug on the drapery, these will open and close for you. They're very quiet to operate. And as I mentioned, you can use these with your ripple fold and your pinch plate draperies. Here is your specification sheet for your ARIA H-rail. There's your exploded view. I know some workrooms that I talk to like to build their systems because they do this quite often. So it's nice to know what are the parts and pieces that are included or for your track systems. You have your slim drapery. These do work with the R-TEC smart controls. That is an option for you. You have different remotes and switches that you can use. As I mentioned, you can use the AC power transformer to operate your motor. That does come with a 10-foot standard plug, but you can also order a 30-foot plug. That is an option. You can use the Li-ion battery powered option that is going to require a wall battery charger. The ARIA H-rail is going to be available in all of the finishes that come along with the Antiquities collection, as well as all of the beautiful Antiquities finials. So you can use these in your client's home and they will coordinate with all of their home decor that you are designing for them. Now, also coming soon is the R-TEC track. This is going to give you the commercial look for your commercial projects or easily upgrade your R-TEC track with the Finestra wood and the Finestra custom decorative hardware, fascias, and all of your finials. So all those colors that you love to use, all the stain finishes that you love to use, you can use with the R-TEC track. It's got the same features as the ARIA H-rail. Again, you can use this for your pinch pleat and your ripple fold. Here is your exploded view for the R-TEC track. Everything that you need to know if you're building them yourself, but don't worry, you do not have to build these yourself. You can have custom solutions build these for you, and they arrive on your doorstep ready for you to install and use with your customers' draperies. Now, as I mentioned, you can order for your shades and your draperies different types of handheld remotes and switches. There's a single channel, a 5-channel, 15-channel remote control, a surface mount wall switch in 5-channel, and a wall box mount switch in a 15-channel. Now for the wall box, you do need to cut a hole in the customer's wall because it is not surface mount. You can have a hub. You can order an interior sun sensor to open your shades and close your shades depending upon the heat on the window or the sun coming in. You can order an ARC USB signal repeater with a wall charger. And you would use that if you have a shade or drapery outside the range of your hub. So your hub, your drapery is not working with your hub because it's outside of that range. All you have to do is order the signal repeater and plug that into the wall charger, which goes right into your wall, in between the hub and your drapery or your shade, and it extends the range of that hub for you. Now, the USB signal repeater and the signal heart charger is shown in black here. It will be coming out in a white very soon. Now, if your customer can simply open their draperies with a touch of a remote control, why would you need to order a hub? Well, a hub makes life easy. The hub allows your customers to operate their shades and draperies with something that they're used to using, their cell phone. Don't we all have our cell phone with us almost all the time? Now, using the hub along with the app gives your customers more control over their lives, over the operation of their window treatments. Simply download the R-TEC automation app in the Apple Store or in Google Play. If you can't remember the name of that app, when you go into the Apple Store or Google Play, you can simply search Rowley and that app will come up. Using the app and the hub will allow you to group your shades according to rooms. You can group your automate shades and draperies once the rods are available by room, and you can conveniently control them accordingly. With the app, you can set scenes for your shades and your draperies, and you can organize how your shades operate by specific daily events. If you know that every morning when you're sitting at the breakfast table for breakfast, you know that the sun is just glaring in and you can't see the person sitting across the table from you, you can program that within the app. If you're out of town, you can simply slide your finger on the app on your phone to open or close your shades. You can set timers. You can lower and raise your window treatments and activate them automatically at an optimal time. You can use this for multiple shade types and draperies. So this is a huge life-altering way that you operate your window treatments. Technology is here. You can use your shades with your popular systems. Obviously, these are sold separately. You can use these with your Apple HomeKit. You can allow Siri to raise and lower your shades for you. You can ask your Amazon Alexa to open and close your shades. You can use these with your Google Home. You can use these with if this, then that. That is why you want a hub. That is why you want to have these features and know these features to sell the hub to your customers. Some helpful tools for ordering your shade systems. Right now you can get your 4-foot shade starter kits for the different motors that we've talked about today. There are some Roman shade lift option kits that you can order to go along with these, whether you want to have an encased lift cord, shroud tube, or tape kit, or lift band kit. You can order those kits. You can order weight bar options, whether you want a flat weight bar or 3/8 inch steel weight bar. Now, these come with your 4-foot kit. However, if you want to make a shade that is less than 4 feet, you can cut the tubes or the track down as long as that shade size falls within the specs that we talked about for those particular motors. These are great for shade samples. If you haven't ventured into motorization yet and you don't have any sample shades, this would be a great way for you to understand motorization, for you to get to know and love motorization so that you can easily talk about it with your customers. If you fall in love with it, they're going to read it and they're going to understand that if you love it, then they're going to want it in their homes as well. And as I mentioned, maybe you decide that you don't want to build the kits yourself or the products yourself, but using these shade starter kits, you will see that you'll get to understand how things are put together, what works with what, and that makes you more knowledgeable. And then when you sell these to your customers, you can have Rowley Custom Solutions build them for you. But at least you know how everything works and what parts are included. Now, for resources, you can visit the R-TEC Automation Systems page on their website for all of the latest products that are available. The link is right here on your screen. Rowley has got an amazing technical support for you, which makes it easy for you to sell these products to your customer. It's all about ease. When we are thinking about new technology, it can seem scary, but don't worry. Rowley's got the easy solution for you. You can call the 800 number or you can email info@rowleycompany.com and they will put you in touch with a person that can help you with your question. You can also visit the R-TEC Automation Shades page for the latest products that are available. Rowley has gone to great lengths to update their website to make all of these items easy for you to order, easy for you to learn, and easy for you to understand. There are spec sheets like we talked about on the website webinar today. These are available for you for download or printing on the website. They have an amazing education library on their website. And here's a link right here. You can find how-to guides that you can download and print. You can watch recorded webinars. You can get product instructions. You can get product instructions that show the exploded view of everything we talked about today, as well as step-by-step instructions showing you and telling you how to put these systems together. There are 2 videos already out on the website showing you how to put together the wire-free tubular motor and how to put together the wire-free tubular motor with wand control. Those are on a YouTube channel for you to look at that will help you understand how to put all of the parts and pieces together. I highly advise you to request a free R-TEC automation sales kit. This is a lovely, lovely package that they will mail to you that has the R-TEC automation catalog for reference for motorized options. It's got tabbed spec sheets for each of the motors that are available. It will eventually, as soon as the drapery rods come out, there will be a sales kit for that as well. And also included in the sales kit is a custom solution order forms. As I mentioned, you may decide that you want Rowley to put the systems together for you. So those order forms are included in the R-TEC automation sales kit. Check out these helpful guides on the downloads that you can get. The handouts on this webinar is a component combination for roller shades and a component combination for Roman shades. What that is a beautiful handout that shows you the different motors, the different components that are going to coordinate with the size shade and the type shade that you are going to want to order. It's got all of the part numbers listed. So that is a beautiful document that you can download, you can print it off. It is 7 pages, so each of them are 7 pages, so be aware of that. But it is a very comprehensive view of parts and pieces that may be easier for you to understand than opening up the catalog and looking in the catalog. There is also a skyline bracket chart. So that shows you a footprint of in an architectural drawing of each of the skyline brackets, which is very, very helpful and can help you understand what size board or headrail that you may be using or need to use when you're making your Roman shades. I want to thank you for attending. I hope that I have helped you to take I've helped to take some of the fear out of motorization for you. I hope that I've inspired you and given you the desire to want to go ahead and, if you're not already using motorization, go ahead and just start getting into it. Make some shade samples for yourself. Don't forget the education library. Don't forget to shop the product specials that will be expiring at the end of this webinar series, at the end of May. Go ahead and take advantage of those. Don't forget, Rowley, his company, has got a Pinterest board, so you can follow and share on their Pinterest board. You can find everything you need on the Rowley Company website, or go ahead and call the 800 number, or go ahead and email info@rowleycompany.com. Get social with Rowley Company. You can find Rowley on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and they've got an amazing YouTube channel as well. Okay, thank you again for joining me. I hope to see you next time. We're going to be going over programming next time. It's going to be a great webinar. Have a great afternoon. And again, thanks for joining today. Bye-bye, everyone.